Hello my friends, welcome back to another tutorial. On this lesson I am going to help out Fernand. He's a very good supporter of mine and he's in a bit of a pickle. He's stuck on a particular painting. Now he sent me a photograph and he said he would love to try and paint this. It's really old building basically, okay? He is having trouble trying to figure out what's the best way of doing it, what kind of techniques, what colours, more importantly. So I thought we would help him out this time on Patreon. It's a beautiful scene. So I have, so it's basically a building. It's very old. I don't know, it's a church or some kind of religious place or something like that, but it's very old. And I told him I'd help him out, see what we can do, make the nice painting out of this. So I have my canvas here, 16 by 12. I have my palette, all my colours laid out, a little linseed oil with turpentine mixed together. Now you see that tiny amount I have in there, that will do me pretty much for the painting, okay? So, you know, there's no need really to be filling up big jars with loads of turpentine and linseed oils and all that kind of thing. A tiny amount is really all we're going to need, just for thinning paints. So that's it. Let's see if we can create something nice here and help Fernand create a nice painting. I'm told it means a lot to him and it's very dear to his heart. So yeah, let's see if we can help you out, Fernand. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I have a lovely one coming for my YouTube channel, possibly today, maybe tomorrow. It's a beautiful picture. It's very eye-catching. It's just a simple picture. It's a very kind of a fuzzy background with a very bright kind of a pinky white flower. Kind of, it's very difficult. It's almost floating there, but there's a couple of leaves coming out of it, but it seems to kind of disappear into the background. It's a beautiful picture. I spotted this while I was looking up on Google and stuff like that. So I'm going to try that this week on YouTube. It's going to be a real stunning painting, I think, with a frame. Without further ado, let's go and have some fun with this. Let me know what you think. If you're painting buildings or churches or anything like that, this will be really helpful, especially getting perspective in a building, okay? And, you know, getting shade and shadows on the walls, that kind of thing. So let's try. Let's go and have a bit of fun with this. Don't go anywhere. Okay, there's the photograph now. It's very unusual, isn't it? Very unusual photograph. It's beautiful. A beautiful building. That colour is just really eye-catching. So, come on, let's just have a bit of fun with this. I'll start with a sketch, okay? And I'm going to pick this corner of the wall over here. It's slightly off centre, isn't it? So I go around here and I'm going to give it a little bit of an angle going upwards, okay? Just very slightly. Now that will help give us the perspective of the building being turned at an angle towards the camera, all right? And we'll go over here and we'll put it another upright there, slightly smaller. So now we have a nice angle from that corner down to that corner, okay? So it's giving us this kind of turned look going off backwards, all right? The roof, I go here actually, let's start with this, and it's a slight angle like that. So that's going off into the distance, like so. And put another upright here. So just keep this very loose and very simple, okay? The roof line falls, doesn't it? I'm going to let it fall like this. So now we have lovely perspective already, don't we? So I can hope now you can see that and everything is okay on camera. I will go and pick a center point up here. I think, looking at the photograph, it's kind of slightly off center, the very top of those bricks up there. But I think we should keep it center because it might look a little bit funny if we don't. So let's just try it and see what we can do with this. I'm just going to go very roughly with a line up like that, and I'm going to bring a line down like that. Okay. Then, way at the back, now we have something way down at the back there. I don't know if it's a bit of a shed. It's like something that was added on, but I'm going to leave that for now. I'll just focus on the roof. Very sharp line here for the roof. Let me get my pencil working properly here. Very sharp line. And you can almost not even see where it turns. It's almost like a solid straight line. So I'm just going to allow it to turn, just give it a slight angle like that. So now we have a nice perspective on this church. It may look a bit wide, actually. It may be a bit on the wide side. I come in slightly, okay. We have 2 lines. I'm just going to pick out some of the lines which I think we need for these bricks and stuff like that. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have a square one up on top. We can fill that in later. The doorway, that's very important. Let's get a little doorway in here. So Fernand, just keep this simple, nice and simple, okay? Little curve on the door like that. Just very loose. You don't have to be perfect with this. Okay. Then we have what looks like little windows and an archway around that. We put a little archway around that, and then we come out and we will just put a straight line right across like that. Another one like that. We'll fill our windows and stuff in then later on, okay? Now, off in the distance, let's just put a very slight suggestion of rooftops, things like that. Okay? Couple of rooftops. Nothing fancy. There's grass, there's all that kind of stuff coming in. We have a suggestion of a pathway coming along here. And I'm going to leave this telegraph pole out. I think this just obscures the building too much. So I'm going to leave that out. A little line of trees there like that. Look, very, very simple trees. And we'll bring little edge for the grass and the trees and bushes there. And we have some little bushes here, don't we? We have some nice shadows coming out of those bushes. I think that's all we need to do, okay? That's it, nice and simple. Let's start painting. Okay, I'm going to take a regular flat brush. I have a number 7 flat here, all right? And I'm going to just put a nice simple bright blue sky up there. Nice and simple. Now, I hope the lighting is okay on the camera here. I'm going to just fix the camera for one moment, just bear with me, okay? Now, I'm going to then brighten it. I'm looking at my hand and I'm going to brighten it ever so slightly. I don't want this too bright. There, that's perfect. It's sometimes tricky with these cameras trying to get the lighting just right. Let's make a nice simple blue sky. Let's take some phthalo blue, lots of white, and I'm going to take some cadmium red, okay? Now, that's a bit much. Clean my brush quickly, take more white, take more blue. A soft blue kind of a sky, okay, in this. Let me just try this. There, I think that's not bad. A nice simple blue sky. And I can add a little darker blue to this as I go. Also, I did prime my canvas once with just a basic undercoat paint, okay? A simple white undercoat paint. And I then just give it a light rub with some fine sandpaper. And that really just makes the canvas nice and smooth. It's very similar to really a very expensive canvas which is properly gessoed. It's basically the same thing. Now around the tree line just very quickly like that. Soften this right along, down the roof. As it comes down, I'm going to start taking more white. I'm just going to let that soften into the distance. There we go. Soften some white in there. Picking up that blue, making it nice and light off in that distance. So a simple blue sky going across. I might add 1 or 2 little clouds just flicking across the sky, just for a little bit of effect, that's all. Just to have something up there, okay? You don't have to if you don't want to. With scenes like this, I think it's nice just to keep a simple sky rather than putting loads of clouds and stuff like that, because the focus is on this church here, okay? That's the focal point of this painting. I think I'll just put a couple of maybe small ones, just flicking. Because the perspective is going off on the right, I think a couple flicking down on the right will be just enough. Just 1 or 2, you know, just a handful of clouds, just maybe up in one corner, flicking down like that, okay? Then I'll take a soft brush, my soft blender. It's pretty hard at the moment, it's not great. Just pull them down at an angle, just to take the brush strokes away. Give it a bit of movement, look. There we go. Now, so I'll leave it at that, that's fine. let's move on to the trees. And I know I'll probably skip along kind of quite quickly, but you can take your time with this at home. These trees are a very, very sunny green, a very warm green. I'm going to try lamp black with yellow, okay? Lamp black and cadmium yellow. I'll take a tiny amount of turpentine in this, just a tiny amount of thinners, just to break the paint a little. We don't want it too thin, okay? I want it nice and thick. So cadmium yellow, lamp black, and with that colour, I'm going to simply block in all these trees. Now you see how that's kind of thick, I'm having to drag it across, so I'm going to take a tiny, tiny amount of thinners again, just to thin it, and take plenty of paint, okay? Let's not be shy with the paint. So I'm basically putting in a nice dark background first. Fill this in. Nice dark green. Now that looks very black on camera, but it's actually slightly lighter. It's a nice green, a kind of an olive green, okay? And let's go up here like this. Just roughly filling in that background, because I'm going to be putting darks and lights into this in a moment. I just want to get a nice rich colour filled in as my base coat, okay? That's what I'm kind of doing at the moment, just a base coat, that's all. Now, so we have a nice green filled in on our trees. I'm going to put some phthalo blue into that, little cadmium yellow, and I want to use that for the kind of the darker side, the shadow side of some of these trees, okay? So I'm going to use that to fill in, just to give a little bit of deepness and a bit of shadow to some of the trees in the background, okay? Just a few, here and there, in behind the church specifically. Then I'll take a hint of black, and I'll pop a little bit of black in there as well. You can see I'm just really flicking my brush around very loosely, because this is not the finished tree, okay? Maybe put a little bit around here and there. The thing with trees really is just to keep it simple and keep it fast and keep it moving, all right? That's what I find is the key with painting trees. Now, there's a couple up behind the roof, isn't there? I'm going to pop one or two in just with the corner of my brush up there. Just very loosely and lightly, like that, look. Just one or two, it's just a suggestion, that's all, of some in the distance. Now, let's go a bit darker than that. Get a bit of black and a bit of yellow, and go a little bit darker. Solid dabs with your brush is all you need, okay? There we go, that's it. Now, dip my brush in the turpentine, give it a rub on some tissue, just to take off the bulk of the paint. It's not spotless, you see that? It's not spotless, just the bulk. And let's now put in some highlights on these trees. I'm not sure if this brush now will work for this. We may have to try a different brush, but let's take some cadmium yellow and a little Naples yellow. You know I love Naples yellow, don't you? And starting, I suppose, let's start here. And you can see I'm just simply using the corner of my brush just to add some light into these trees. And let all of this then just kind of soften into the darker colours, okay? Let that soften down. We're just creating some foliage, some simple foliage. That's all we're doing. So let's go again. I've no thinners in this, okay? Cadmium yellow, Naples yellow. Let's go up here and pop some of those in around here. So we're then creating different layers of trees, all right? Now this brush is a little hard for this. I probably want a slightly smaller brush and a slightly softer brush, but I'll try this just for now. Okay, just with the corner of the brush, look, tap, 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 and let that soften down and disappear randomly into your darks. Let's put another one or two around here. But at the end of the day, it's just a suggestion of some trees, isn't it? Some foliage, some trees. It's a very loose suggestion. You could take some cadmium yellow on its own, if you want to brighten it slightly. So now look, already we have some nice little trees in the background there, don't we? We can add lots of lighter colours to that as well. We could take some cadmium yellow, Naples yellow and some white. Maybe a hint of that blue. Okay, I'll go over here and I'll pop a little of that just around this one, just to create a little foliage on this, some highlights. Let's take some white again and some blue into that mix. So we have a very brighty, whitey kind of a colour. And we can pick out some real bright ones. Let's get a bit more blue in that. So it's a very bright bluey green colour. Pick up some blue. And it's just about variety, that's all. Adding a little variety here and there. You see, that's all. Nice and simple. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I do see a small little tree. A small little tree trunk in there. I'm just going to pop that in because I think it's nice. I like the look of that. So with that lighter colour, that light green, let's just pop a little suggestion of that in there. Look, just like that. Take a little bit of light blue. Okay, and we take some Naples yellow. Disappears up into the tree line. All right, just like that. Okay, so we're done with that. I think I'll fill in just around the front of this here. All right, I'm gonna, now you can see the way the grass is hit and miss. It's like a straw kind of a colour. Let's try and get some of that. Let's take some Naples yellow. I have a slightly damp brush now. A little sienna. And some cadmium yellow. Okay, those three colours. Let's have a look at that now. Just pop this in for a moment. And you can see the way it's picking up the green already on my brush. That's good. We want that. That's what makes it a more natural kind of a feeling. Okay, that's what you want. Allow your colours to move around and mix on the canvas. That nice natural mixed up kind of a feeling. Let's try Naples yellow with burnt umber. It's just to get this piece in here, that's all. Just to give our lovely little church somewhere to sit. That's all. Take more Naples yellow. And pop a little Naples yellow in there. I will use a fan brush then later on, you see, just to create the impression of little grasses and things like that. All right. So next, we have some nice, rich colours in there, don't we? Nice, rich kind of greens. Just want to pop a few of those in, just to kind of sit all of this down and tie it all together. Okay, I'll take a little burnt umber. You see, I'm just picking up little colours as I go. That's all I'm doing. And then I'll even grab some Naples yellow and pull some of that out. Allow this all to sort of merge just ever so slightly together. Okay? You don't want solid, harsh lines. Now, I can see one or two harsh lines, but you don't want too many solid, harsh lines. You want to encourage it to kind of mix and sort of just become natural and mix together naturally. So you can kind of see what I mean. That's just okay for now. Okay, that's all we need to do for now. Next, I think I'll go up along the side and do the back. And I'm going to leave this building to last because I really love that building. Beautiful building. So, taking some phthalo blue, I need cadmium yellow. And by the way, if you want, you can just soften all those trees in together as well, a little bit. So let me show you. Let's just catch the brush and flick some of them around. Allow them to maybe take on a different form. You see what I mean? Let things soften together, just slightly. I think that's nice. It's just a nice soft feeling. Okay, so up here, let's get some cadmium yellow with the phthalo blue. Tiny, tiny amount of that and a hint of Naples yellow. that will soften the colour back. And let's go, now it needs to be a bit darker I think. Let's just go up here and pop that in. I'll take some burnt umber I think in that and Naples yellow. So now we have kind of a muddy green colour, don't we? Nice muddy green. Let's bring it down, let that soften in here. Don't worry about all our little bits of grass and all that kind of thing. We'll pop all that in later on, alright? I just want to get a nice under base coat colour. That's all I want to do, okay? Now, I'm going to switch brushes. We have some little houses back there, don't we? I'm going to pop some of those in. I'm going to take a small flat brush. I'll take some cadmium red. I'll take some burnt umber. I'll take a touch of black. And then some Naples yellow. So I always tend to mix my darker colours first and then I add my lighter colours in. We have this lovely pinky kind of a brown colour now, okay? See, that's fine, that will do fine. And it's just an impression, so don't try and get loads of little details in there and all that kind of thing. This is just a very simple impression of some roofs off in the distance, that's all it is, okay? Clean that brush. Let's take a bit of burnt umber, let's take some of this blue, create some kind of a nice bluey grey or something like that. Pop a little bit of that in. And you see what I'm doing now is just creating the suggestion of little bits and pieces off in the distance. I'm going to take some black and I'm going to pop a little of that blacky red colour just here and there. Again, to just create different tones off in the distance. You see what I mean? It's just a very loose impression, that's all we want. So take a fine brush, finish off some of those. Let's get some dark grey. Let's put some dark grey under the roof here. Because these would have all changed over time as well, okay? This would constantly be changing. We could take a bit of green, a bit of dark green perhaps. Pop a little dark green here and there. Suggest some foliage in the distance. Okay, and then we'll take this small flat brush and create a couple of small trees just for in front of those. Let's take some black, some yellow and some burnt umber. And let's just pop a few really dark trees. They're very dark, aren't they? Just pop a few dark trees in here and there. So you can see now it breaks up everything, doesn't it? You see what I mean? So now we already have a little bit going on off in the distance. And it's just an impression, that's all. I don't want to be getting bogged down with lots and lots of little details, that kind of thing. There's really no need. I'm going to take some cadmium yellow with some white. I'm going to pop a little tiny amount of light on some of those. Okay, you see what I mean? Just here and there, look. And it just adds a little more interest into the painting. Okay, I see we have a little bank of sand or gravel that kind of cuts across the field back there. Take some Naples yellow and burnt sienna. And let's just pop that. Nice rich colour. Off there in the distance. Bring it across here. And we could even pop some of that around here. This will all work later then, you see, when I start putting my grass in, because we'll already have these colours in the background, in between. Do you understand what I mean? I'll take even a little Naples yellow on its own, back here, just to create a little more light. Okay. Now, Church. Should we crack on and start doing the church? I will, I think I will. I'm going to take a brush. What brush do I use? I'll start filling in with a clean flat brush like this, okay? Any flat brush that you have at all, just for filling in. And then we'll move to a smaller brush for details. So this colour, it's a very strange colour. It's like an orangey brown, there's a hint of yellow going through it. It's a very tricky colour to get. I'm just going to go and try. Let's take some burnt sienna, lots of Naples yellow. I think lots of two of those colours is probably the best mix. Burnt sienna with Naples yellow. Let me just put this on now and take a look. Okay, I think I'll go with that as a lighter shade. Then I can start adding darker tones into this. Perhaps even a hint of burnt umber, I think, just to tone it down ever so slightly, yes? Because we don't want it very luminous. It's not a very luminous colour. It's a very earthy, warm, ready kind of a brown. So look, let's just fill this in with that colour. And we can take our time then when we get to the details. All those little details, the windows, the bricks. I'm going to be trying to create even the impression of the brickwork as well. So that'll be interesting. So if you're painting a building, a cottage, a church or anything like that, and you want to create some brickwork, stay tuned and I will show you how I create a nice impression of brickwork on a building, okay? Lots of little bricks, very, very quickly. You don't have to think that you're painting every single brick individually, because that will take you weeks, won't it? I think the best thing to do is an impression. So you're thinking just an impression of bricks and that kind of stuff. Let's bring that down there and come down straight with that. So I have the filling in done, all right? It's all filled in. Let's go around the back here. Let's take lots of Naples yellow for this. So remember, this is just my kind of medium tone for the building. I'm going to be adding lights and darks into this and creating different gradients and all that kind of thing. So it's going to be fun. Let's fill in the back end of this church, or the side, as you might say, with this. Well, there we go. Put plenty on now. Don't be shy. Okay, plenty. Now, you can, if you want, bring the brush strokes like this. So already you're then getting the impression of the direction of the brickwork coming down at an angle and going rising up then as it goes up to the top. All right, you can do it that way as well if you like. Let's try it on this. Let's just lots and lots of little dabs with the side of the brush, dragging all the paint across. You see what I mean? It does work. It gives you an impression of all the brickwork going in that direction. And there we go. Next, I'm going to do the roof. And it's pretty much, I think, the same colour, maybe a little bit richer. Let's go with some burnt umber and burnt sienna in that. And let's pop it on. Again, just very loosely. And that sienna is the perfect colour for this. Sienna with Naples yellow is just absolutely divine for a colour. And bring that down there, look at that. And these brush strokes then are going in this direction, you see, because that's telling us the roof is falling downwards like this, okay? Now we have that finished. Next we have to start adding some light and some tone and some, you know, different lighting hitting the building here and there. So I'm going to take a small round brush like this, simple round brush, good clean. And I'm simply going to go into some Naples yellow, all right? Now load up the tip of your brush with Naples yellow. And you see these lovely lights we have over here. I'm simply going to start moving in the direction of this. So to create your perspective, okay, this is very important. To create perspective, you're following the line here down like this, okay, like so. But as you come up higher and higher, you're following the angle of the building like this. So when you get up higher, then you're going like this, you see. So everything is going into one point like this. So the point where these would meet would be around here. So remember, keep your brush strokes in the same direction. As it comes up, you're turning the brush upwards like this, you see? And then bringing it down towards the bottom. And already you can see that it's giving us this wonderful perspective. So as I'm coming up, look, I'm turning the brush stroke and it's then facing upwards like this. And that's how you create wonderful perspective in a building or whatever it is you're painting. It's just so simple. And as you can see now already we have lovely impression of some bricks. Isn't that lovely? So you simply do the very same with your lights and your darks. It's the same principle. Let's take some Naples yellow again and let's try it on this one here and start adding some light onto this. So now I'm not putting individual bricks. I'm just looking at, you have slightly lighter colours at the bottom. Now even on the front here you can see it's slightly lighter and then it moves across into slightly darker shades. So let's just take this and I'm going to start softening this in to the lighter side. Now all of these will go in the same direction because this is all the same all the way across, okay? So all the same. It's basically lighter on one side. There's a slightly lighter hue coming into the wall on one side. So I'll start putting just little dabs of that Naples yellow, leaving it, just allowing it to mix into the colour already there. Okay? Now they don't have to be tiny, tiny marks. Okay? You can just go along like this, look, with tiny flicks of your brush sideways like this. You see? And twist your brush around as you go, just to pick up some of the paint. And what's happening is you're getting natural lights and darks in your wall because it's picking up the paint already there, it's mixing with the paint that's already there, and you kind of jump around like this in patches. So I'm jumping around in different areas, softening this lighter colour in. You see that? There we go. And just keep going over them, over and over and over and over again. So you can see we have slightly lighter patches on the wall, here and there. Particularly at the bottom, towards the bottom we have nice light colour and it kind of darkens as it goes up. So let's just pop that in. Again, tiny little flicks with your brush. Look, tiny, tiny flicks. I hope you can notice this now on camera. I hope you can really see it on camera. Because sometimes the camera doesn't pick up certain colours. Sometimes. I'm going to try some Naples yellow with some white next. That'll give us a nice bright, bright colour. And I'm going to go really light. Maybe even actually a touch of cadmium yellow. Wouldn't that be lovely? Little hint of cadmium. That'll give us a really nice kind of a glow as well. And at the end of the day, look, it's just an impression. You're creating an impression of the building. You know, you're never going to be able to paint every single brick in perfect colour. That's just going to be impossible. Best thing to do is give it a nice impression like this. And just keep going. Just keep going like this all the way along. So we almost have our lights finished. Then I'm going to start adding some slightly darker colours. Okay, because we have lights and darks going on all over the place. A couple of lights over here. Okay, so far so good. Next I'm going to start doing the darker shades. I'm going to take some burnt sienna. and a little burnt umber. You would probably even get away with just burnt sienna on its own, but I think a little burnt umber just here and there will really help. And I'm going to go right up here towards the top, okay? I'm going to start with this piece of stone up on the very top, and then start working it in bit by bit as it comes down, look. Now we have some little walls, some little features that stick out like that, you see? I'm just going to put them in now. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then soften them backwards. And you see now it's picking up some of the lights of the building that are already there. It's picking up the other colours and it's naturally softening in. You see? Let's take a little more burnt umber into that, just a touch. We'll do the same on this side. So a little piece like that, a little piece like that, one there and one there. And then we'll soften those into the building. And we'll fix all of this now with our detail brush later on, okay? So don't worry about that. We have a nice little line. I'm going to use my detail brush for the lines. I'm simply going to just add a bit more colour. There's a bit more colour going on over here, isn't there? Slightly darker. Bring that down. You can see it's just an impression of little bricks. I'm just dabbing my brush, dab, 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 all the way along. Up and down, here and there. Now, already it's starting to kind of come to life, isn't it? Let's add a little darkness over here. Tiny bit of darkness. Smaller little dabs as they go further away. Small dabs, dab, 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 dab. You can use a small pointy brush for this as well if you like. I just find using a slightly bigger round brush covers faster and it gives it a more natural look as well. So you don't have lots of uniform little tiny lines. This is just more natural. It gives you lots of different sizes as you go along. So there. Now I'm going to move to the back side over here, and we have a nice wall, lots of arches over here, but you can't really see them. You can only see one. I can only make out one arch just around there. It's a very dark arch. So I'm going to draw a line down first and then go along it like this to create the impression of the bricks, and then turn. It then turns. Let's get some sienna. It turns like this. And look, lots of small dabs. Dab, 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 dab. Now, if you're not confident with this, you could just leave it as a blank colour and get a pointy brush and put in the suggestion of lines between the bricks, just here and there. If you're not confident with this kind of a technique, but it's really fun, you should try it. It's really fun. So I would ask you just to try it. Just to once. It's just about being nice and loose and, excuse me, nice and loose and free and just having a bit of fun with your brush. And it is actually very satisfying, believe it or not. Now I'm going to put some nice brights in just around there with some Naples yellow, some of this whitey colour. I have a nice bright on this wall. And those brights then distinguish the archways, you see. Okay, so let's, like, for example here, put one or two around there. And be careful not to put on too much paint, because if you put on too much paint, everything becomes very wet and slippery. Okay, so just be a little careful. So now, I'm happy enough with that. I'm just going to leave it at that. I want to concentrate on some details. We have a slightly darker grey at the bottom, don't we? Let's make a nice grey for that. I'm going to take some black, some white, and some burnt umber. So black, white and burnt umber make a beautiful, warm, browny kind of a grey. Okay? That's the perfect mix for a nice grey. Let's just go along pop this in first. I'll always do my solid brush stroke first like this, okay? So now you can just see an impression of that dark grey at the bottom. You can make it as thick as you like. If you want to make it thicker, make it thicker. If you want to make it thinner, just make it a bit thinner. It does get slightly wider here. And then it turns the corner. It's actually quite bright around the corner, but for the sake of keeping it simple, let's just make it the same, okay? Same colour. So now it's kind of sitting. It's starting to sit on the ground, isn't it? I think I could probably use this brush for... No, I won't. Let's go to our detail brush. Let's start getting some of the details in. I have a nice chimney top. I think it's a chimney. It's something like that anyway, just over here. So let's put that in. Like so. Now it's quite dark at the back, isn't it? Very dark. Let's get some burnt umber. Put some burnt umber at the back over here. Alright. Next I'm going to take some burnt umber with a hint of black and start putting in the dark. In fact, it's probably just black. Let's get some black pretty much on its own and start putting in some details up here, okay? Couple of black there, black line, just simple black lines. Now, there we are. You could go a little thicker with them if you like. They do kind of look quite thick, don't they? They do really, really show out. Or show up, rather. So let's go nice and thick. You see, I'm not being too particular. You don't have to be perfect with your lines. Okay, we've one here. Create perspective. Let's go to slight angle at this. And then backwards, down at a slight angle, okay? That gives you lovely perspective with that. Then, back there under our roof, we have a nice rich dark. I'm going to take some black with some cadmium red for that. And simply give it a little wiggle, okay? Nice wiggle as you go along. That will also emphasize the ridges on the metal frame, the metal, is it a metal roof tiled? It's a tiled roof, isn't it? That'll give you the impression of the ridges from those tiles, okay? Try not to make it a solid straight line. Give it a little bit of a wiggle. Then take some black. You can pop some thick black. Give it a little wiggle like that. Look, wiggle, wiggle all the way along. That's much better now, isn't it? Let's get some burnt umber, mix it into that, and start picking out some of our darks. We have a little dark spot there. You can see where that arch kind of turns. And let's just put a simple impression of some of those arches. It's simply just little dabs, little curves with your brush, okay? Bring them down like that. Because this is all just very impressionistic. And this design follows around the back, doesn't it? So we have the little arches and we have a little arch here like that. It's tricky to do this with a very small pointy brush because the brush doesn't want to kind of curve. It's quite tricky to do all of this with a small pointy brush, but let's just give an impression. Look, bring a line right through. At the end of the day, we just want an impression, Fernand. It's just an impression. Everything here is just an impression. It's very difficult to paint all of these little details. It really is. So I'd much rather just go with a nice simple impression. Let's take some of that grey and give it a little bit of grey around some of those. You can see, you know, if you try to do too much, it gets quite messy. So just little dabs of lines here and there, I think, is more than enough. Now that for me, I think is absolutely fine. You really don't need to go to any more lengths than that, all right? Let's pop that, just soften that back out just a little bit there. Pick up some of those darks, soften that back out. Okay, a little bit of that brown. I'll take some Naples yellow, pop some Naples yellow into that grey. Now this is really going into a lot of detail for me even, you know. I would not normally go to this much detail, but I really want to create the impression. I want to get a nice impression of the bricks, because it's all about the brickwork in this, isn't it? For me, the brickwork really is the center point of the painting. These lovely rich colours. There we go. Now, it's just a simple impression, that's all. That will do fine. Next, I'm going to start doing just these dark grey sections. Let's get some black and some brown again and some white. And let's start with this. Now, maybe it's slightly high. So I'm just going to simply go right along. It's much easier to draw a direct straight line like this, okay? Rather than trying to go around each one separately like this. This will give you a straight line all the way, okay? So you can see what I mean. Much easier. And then, you see, you can start painting in your curves, your little features. Does that make sense? And put another one around here. Another one here. Then I'll take some of that dark colour again, some of that black perhaps, and pop a little black in around that. And let's come down and pop in the dark of those little windows. Just a little dark line. I know it's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be perfect, okay? It really doesn't. Now, so, do you think we're getting there slowly? Let's get some black now and really put some nice black in here. Now I will put some of this nice grey around the doorway first. Goes up nice and high, doesn't it? And I always struggle, for some reason, I always struggle to paint nice curves in a painting. It's just the way I've always been, really. I've just been very, very poor at painting curves in a painting. I think, you know, as time goes on, my hands are getting a lot more shaky and it's just more difficult to get curves in. But just take your time. Take your time with it. So Fernand, I hope you're enjoying this so far. Let's take a bit of white, pop a little bit of white up here. But you can kind of fill in the details yourself, Fernand, as you're going, okay? It's just little dabs of colour for the details. Really, all right, that's all I would do. Put in little details. We have a slightly darker line going up here from the corners of some of these. I'm going to just bring that down very gently. It's sort of hit and miss like that, okay? It's just to show the edges of some of these. This one will be slightly lighter because the light is hitting on this side. So let's just try some Naples yellow for this one. Okay, like that. Then I'm going to fill in my doorway with some nice black and brown. I hope you've got some kind of information from this tutorial, some hints or tips, anything. I hope you've gotten something from it, because I really do like to try and give you a nice perspective. You know what I mean? I really do like to try and help you in as many ways as I can. So I really do hope this has helped you a little bit, just a little bit even. Now I'm going to come in and just refine the edges of some of those around that door. Burnt sienna and Naples yellow. And let's just say there, let's go in here and just sharpen up the edge of the door there, just a little, that's all. There. It's a bit better now, isn't it? And then we have a nice light inside there again. Let's take some Naples yellow, simple Naples yellow, and go around. So the light is coming all across and hitting the inside of that doorway there, okay? All right, we're getting there, folks, we are getting there. I'm going to put a tiny hint of highlight around the edge of some of those, because again the light is catching the tops, and that will give you that 3D effect of it kind of standing proud from the wall, okay? Just a little, just a tiny bit. I'll take a tiny bit of white, pop a little white down here next to these. These are just like little portholes really, aren't they? They're not actual windows, I don't think. Maybe they are, but they look like just little portholes to me. And just put a little piece across the bottom just to set them in place. Okay, just like that. Right, how are we doing? We have some bright colours up on the top of these, don't we? Some white. Let's just pop a little white up on top. Tiny bit of white with our brush. And that will finish off those. They do turn slightly. So we just give them the impression of them turning ever so slightly. Okay, like so. Let's go and finish our grass. This is exciting. I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to take some Naples yellow. I'm going to pop some Naples yellow around here and there. And I want to take some burnt sienna as well. Okay, let's get some Naples yellow and burnt sienna. Lots of that. Pop that in here. So that'll be a nice accent colour now for the church. So we're bringing the colours from the church down into the gravel down below as well. Okay. And that just helps sit the church down. You can see what I mean. It's just a little colour here and there. Next, I think I'll go on to the fan brush. Now let me take some white and just pop a little bit of white along here. Like that. Now, fan brush everyone. And I also want to do a little bit of work on the roof as well. Just want to add a little bit of tone to the roof. We could even use a fan brush for that. Let's get some of this burnt sienna and some of the burnt umber. And you could simply, see, that just gives you the lines of the roof. Isn't that nice and simple? Just like that. So I'll take a clean fan brush. I'm going to mix up some nice dark green, some cadmium yellow and a little of the black, that browny black we had. Just mix up any nice dark green that you have. Okay? Cadmium yellow, a little black, maybe a touch of blue, just to give it that dark green feeling. And let's just go and sit this down. You see all these kind of grassy things we have by the bottom of that? Let's just pop a few in here and there. You could take some yellow on your brush, give it the impression of grasses, all that kind of thing. And then I'm going to go over here and go for a real dark colour. Okay, it's almost like a blacky green now, this. I'm going to pop with my fan brush some of that in just around here and there. Give us little touches of grass. So it's a very rough surface, you see what I mean? Just giving little touches of grass here and there. More cadmium yellow. We're almost done with this, folks. I think we're almost done. I think this turned out much nicer than I had expected it to. Do you understand what I mean? I was a little bit apprehensive because sometimes things like this can go very wrong, but I think it's pretty nice, to be quite honest. I'm quite happy with this. Now, we have a little bit of grass put in already. You get a bit more of the darker stuff just up around here and there on that wall. Then I'll dampen my brush. I'll just give it a quick clean just to get that most of that green off of it. I'm then going to go into my Naples yellow, okay? Lots of Naples yellow. And maybe even a hint of cadmium yellow as well. And I'm going to dab some of that here and there, simply just to give a nice rough feeling. Do you understand? A nice rough kind of a sandy feeling. Dab, 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 dab. You see how easy this is? Really do try it. It's just so easy. I get some burnt sienna. We have a little bit of burnt sienna here and there in between those. Then I'm going to give this a nice shadow, okay? I want to give it a nice shadow. I'm not going to put the bushes in. I'm just going to give it a really strong dark shadow, as if there's something there casting a very big shadow. Just like that. And it comes out and it creates little shapes on the grass. You see what I mean? Like so. Now you can't see that with the light. You see it there, okay? Right. I'll clean my brush. I'll take a little white. I'm going to dab a little white across here just to brighten this footpath. It's like a very old road, perhaps. Let's brighten that up slightly. Let that soften in. You see, nice and simple. And then I'm going to take some yellow and some white. And I'm going to go over here and just create some of those rich colours, little plants, spiky things, all that kind of stuff popping up here, there and everywhere. You see? Lots of thick colour. And then a little of the black just to sit them down on the ground. So you can see how everything now just sort of merges together. I'm kind of merging it all together with the fan brush, just allowing it all to soften in. And perhaps even one or two little lights, could be little flowers or just highlights, anything at all, just across the front of that. Now I'm just going to darken around here. Just going to bring that down slightly just to refine the doorway just a little, and suggest a little step possibly or something like that going in. And just fix this area just to sort that out. And I think I'll pop a very dark blue of something just inside here, of the impression perhaps of someone standing or kind of walking in there, just something like that. Do you understand what I mean? So we know there's someone in there. Just to give a little impression that there may be someone in there moving about. There we go. And I think last but not least, I'll pop a little bird in the sky. One little bird. Just gently going across the sky, going about their business. There's one last thing I want to do before we finish this up. And that's just to add a little light on the floor, just up here, look. And let that just disappear out. In amongst the grasses, that kind of thing, okay? You can see how easy I'm doing this now. It's just simply dab, dab, dab. That's all. And my friends, we're done. I think I've captured the feeling for Fernand. I think I've captured it. I just want to put one little dark along the edge of the roof like that. I think that's it. I don't feel the need to go any further, really. You know, you can absolutely go that little bit further with it if you want, Fernand. Add little things like these lights just around here, small things, little details, if you wish. It's completely up to yourself. Oh, I forgot the big star in the middle. You're probably shouting and roaring at the camera, saying you forgot the star. So let's just go with a circle first. Okay. I didn't even notice that now. It just completely left my head. That lovely big feature up there completely went out of my head. I didn't even notice it was there. And let's just pop the little points in here and there. I think that's all it needs. We don't really have to go absolutely crazy with this. Do you know what I mean? You can, if you wish, just give it perhaps one or two, like that. And we're done, my friend. I'm very, very happy with how this turned out. Shall I zoom in and show you how we have finished this? Let me just move my easel here so I can get the light off of that. Ah, that's better now, isn't it? And there we go, my friend, done. Just nice and simple. A nice simple impression of a little old building, a church, whatever you would like to say it is, and just catching the feeling of the building. I think that's wonderful. So let me move back, just move my camera here for a moment, and I can see you. There we are. I hope you've enjoyed that, Fernand. Thank you so much for your support. It really means a huge amount to me. As indeed, thank you everyone for your support. Just allows me to keep going with these tutorials week on week, It's really a huge support to me, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. So sincerely, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed that. If not, even just got some little hints and tips. Creating little brickworks, simple trees, and just keeping it simple in general all around. So yes, I'll see you very soon for my next tutorial on YouTube. My friends, thank you so much for joining me. God bless and happy painting.